प्रतिबोधितां भगवतां नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिनां मध्ये महाभारतम्।
भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवतां नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिनां मध्ये महाभारतम्। अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। I welcome you all with my love and respects. Love is your very life. It's beautiful. After the Viswarupa Darshana, showing the cosmic form, giving the experience of cosmic consciousness, Krishna speaks about bhakti, love. Usually people think after bhakti comes spiritual experience. But I tell you the truth. After spiritual experience comes bhakti. Never a real bhakti can happen to you before spiritual experience. East always believes first spiritual experience, then social service. But Western religions believe social service will lead to spiritual experience. No. Never. Only a person who had the experience of every being as part of cosmic consciousness can really radiate love. Only he can know what is love. Nobody else can know what is love. Others can think they love or act as if they love. Be very clear. There are so many people who act as if they love. Sometimes by acting, they start thinking that they are loving. Never you can love by acting. Love is supposed to flow from your very being. It happens only when you experience the cosmic consciousness, spiritual experience. It is so nice. Krishna puts the whole thing step by step. after the spiritual experience, the gratitude, so much of gratitude overflows in your being, so much of love overflows in your being, you start radiating it. You start radiating. No one can show or experience love unless they have the spiritual experience. People come and ask me, Swamiji, you are telling all your devotees to meditate, meditate, meditate. What is the use? Why don't you tell them to do service? There are so many spiritual organizations, I can't say spiritual organizations, so-called spiritual organizations, caught in social service, just for the sake of name and fame and social prestige. There are so many organizations. Organized charity, I always tell people, organized charity is beautiful way of cheating yourself and others. Charity can never be organized. It just flows. It can never be organized. The moment you organize it, the whole thing has got different quality, different color, different purpose. Different color, different quality, different purpose. Only when it flows after the experience, it is a solid expression of love. There is a beautiful saying in Zen Buddhism. Whatever Buddha does, even if he kills somebody, it will do only good to him. But an unenlightened man, whatever he does, even if he does a great service, it will do only bad for him and the society. Good or bad is not decided by doing, it is decided by being. When an enlightened man does, even small things lead to great good things or good results in the world. When unenlightened people do, even a great truths lead to misery and destruction. See, a simple word uttered by Buddha, watch your breath, or observe, witness your inhaling and exhaling. A simple truth discovered by Buddha. Thousands of people have become enlightened through this Vipassana meditation. The simple one technique, Vipassana, thousands of people have become enlightened. When Buddha utters even ordinary truth, even ordinary simple truth leads thousands of people to higher consciousness. If an unenlightened person discovers even a great truth leads to destruction. See the atomic bomb. Great truth, the theory of relativity. Great truth. But when it comes out from unenlightened mind, it always leads to destruction. Important thing. I was just reading a statistics report in a magazine. They say all the governments, all the countries in the world have got enough of atomic weapons which can burn planet Earth 700 times. Not once or twice. Once burning the planet Earth is enough. The atomic weapons they have stored, they have piled, can destroy planet Earth 700 times. Any single person with sadistic attitude, if he goes and sits in the seat or if he gets the power, the whole humanity is in danger. We have everything ready. Just somebody has to come and press the button. He should be mad enough, he should be sadistic enough to press the button, the global suicide will happen. So much of atomic weapons are piled. See, it's a great truth. The theory of relativity is such a great truth, but expressed from unenlightened mind. So naturally it leads to destruction. Deed or word by themselves don't do good or bad. It does good or bad based on the consciousness from which it emits. Based on the consciousness from which it expresses. Only after the experience you feel the gratitude. It's your solid experience that every living being is God. You start radiating love. Your very being becomes love. Krishna starts the Bhakti Yoga after Viswarupa Darshana Yoga. After that experience, he starts Bhakti Yoga. Arjuna Uvacha Evam sadata yukta ye bhaktas pam paryupasade esapyaksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittama. See, the whole trend in which Arjuna speaks is totally different now. The very trend, very way is different. He says, which are considered to be the more perfect? Those who are always properly engaged in your bhakti, are those who worship in those who merge in the Brahman, the unmanifested. Please be clear. Here, he is not asking for himself. It is from here the trend starts like a simple discussion. It's more like trying to record the truth, trying to put the whole thing in record for future generation. The questions from here is neither doubt nor enquiries. Just he tries to put the whole thing in the form of writing so that it will be useful for the next generation. A simple understandings. Yes, who is established in you totally, whether a person who is devotee or person who is enlightened. Two things. The religious people or so-called religious people always confuse this sloka, giving the meaning of Arjuna is asking whether worshipping the form or formless, which is right one. But I tell you, that is not the way Arjuna is asking. If you see the answer of Krishna, you can understand that is not the way Arjuna is asking. Arjuna is asking, is it good to be established in the same consciousness or to express the love and gratitude which is created by the conscious experience to the whole universe, to every being? See, when you get that spiritual experience, some people stay in that same experience inside, that's all. With closed eyes only they can see God. He is asking, that type of person is great, or a person who opens his eyes and sees God in every being, he is great. Please understand, he is not asking whether worshipping the form is great or worshipping the formless is great. No. But the so-called religious people have always given this meaning and created problem between Shankara and Ramanuja. It goes on and on and on. But if you see the answers, it is very clear Arjuna is not asking this. He is asking, should I be established in that same experience, or should I express the gratitude which is happening to me? Expressing the gratitude which happens because of the experience is bhakti. Having that experience and rejoicing Staying in that experience is jnana, that's all. But Krishna's answer is both are one and the same. Both are one and the same. And both are not two different things. How the first one leads to second one and the second one leads again back to first one. You see, you must have heard about the vicious circle. First one leads to second one and second one leads to the first one. And now I wanted to introduce a new word, virtuous circle. Vicious circle leads to low energy, to a lower level of consciousness. Virtuous circle leads you to higher energy, higher level of consciousness, bliss and devotion, bliss and gratitude, gratitude and bliss. These two are virtuous circle which leads you to the higher consciousness. Bliss means the experience, leads you to expression, gratitude, service. Again, the expression, the gratitude or service leads you to bliss. One leads to other, the other leads to first. So it is called virtuous circle. Usually we are caught in the vicious circle. Fear leads to greed, greed leads to fear. Fear leads to more greed, fear leads to more greed, and more greed leads to more fear leads to more and more greed, and more greed leads to more and more fear. This is vicious circle. And here Krishna introduces virtuous circle. Virtuous circle is what he calls dharma. Dharma means virtuous circle, which leads you to higher and higher consciousness, which leads you to higher and higher level of experiences. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Vesya Manoye Mam Nitya Yukta Upasade Shraddhaya Parayo Veda Deme Yukta Tamamata Maya Vesya Manoye Mam Nitya Yukta Upasade Shraddhaya Parayo Veda Deme Yukta Tamamata. Bhagavan says, those who fix, those who are established in the consciousness which expresses the gratitude, bhakti, are always engaged in me. And the transcendental faith means the experience which they undergo at the time of cosmic experience, both are ultimate. Of course, there are so many people who translate this text. Now I have to tell an important thing. Sanskrit is such a beautiful language. You can make any meaning out of any word. That is why so many thousands of commentaries on Gita is possible. But still Gita is new. No other book is commented by so many masters like Gita. But still Gita is new. Each one tries to give their own meaning. Again and again I insist. A person who has not experienced, if he starts speaking, naturally he will be in trouble, and he will be creating trouble to others. How blind leading blind leads both of them to trouble. Same way, a person without experience, when he translates or starts, he automatically does something called text torturing. Understand this small example. Here I am putting some diagram and explaining to you. few days, you are presenting only audio CD to one of your friend who has not attended the lecture. How much he can grasp? He cannot. Because so many things are there in the diagram. I am explaining through a picture. If you are here seeing and listening, you will be able to, even then it is very difficult to grasp the truth, to understand it as it is. And if you are just giving an audio CD to some friend who has not come, who has not attended the program, how much you will be able to understand? Same way, and if he tries to understand and he wants to give a lecture on this subject to somebody else, how much it will be original? Same way, person who has not seen, just got the audio recording, only the book. Bhagavad Gita is just audio recording. Transcription of audio recording. It is not even audio recording. If you just hear audio recording, at least you can understand few more things by the voice modulation. Here even voice modulation is not there. It's a transcription of audio recording. How much can you translate or interpret? That's the reason Vivekananda again and again emphasizes, don't read or listen anything which is expressed by a person who has not personally experienced. First thing he says, first thing, don't bother what he is speaking, bother first about who is speaking. He emphasizes on the personal experience. Here Bhagavan says, Maya Veshya Mano Emam Nitya Yukta Vasade Sradhaya Parayo Veda Deme Yukta Tamamata. Those who express their experience as devotion, see the word upasate, upasana. The word upasana can be translated in many ways. When you see the divine in everybody, whatever you do is upasana. When you see the divine in everybody, whatever you do is upasana. Please be very clear. When you don't see the divine in everybody, you can't see divine in any statue or in any master. First be very clear. If you don't see divine in living beings, you can't see divine in a God or in a guru. Somebody goes to Ramanuja. Ramanuja is a great master. But for Ramanuja, South India would have lost the whole spirituality. Shankara went and settled in North. Even though he is born and brought up in South, he spent most of his time in North. It is because of Ramanuja, the devotion and the spirituality thrived in South India. Till the end, Ramanuja stayed in South India. Not only that, Shankara lived only 32 years. But Ramanuja lived for a long time. He lived in the planet Earth for a long time. And he inspired thousands of people. Ramanuja inspired thousands of people in the path of spirituality and meditation. One young man goes to Ramanuja and asks, Bhagavan, please tell me how to achieve bhakti, how to achieve God, how to achieve the devotion. Ramanuja says, have you loved anybody in your life? This man was shaken. He said, I am a pure brahmachari. How can you ask me this question? I came to you to learn about God, but you are asking this question. Ramanuja says, first go and love somebody. See how you feel when you love somebody. Then come back, I will teach you about God. I will teach you about bhakti. Understand? The man was, of course, naturally taken aback. He is not able to understand what Ramanuja says. Unless you love the person whom you are seeing, how you will be able to love the person whom you have never seen? If you can't love human beings whom you are seeing every day, how can you love the form of God or God whom you have never seen? What he says is true. What he says is true. We also should understand, unless you start radiating love in the space where you are staying, you can't love the whole world. Again and again I tell people, loving the whole world is very easy, but loving your wife is very difficult. Loving the whole world is easy because you don't have to do anything. Just say, I love whole world, I love whole world. But when you love your wife, you have to change your attitude. You have to change your mind. You have to change your words. You have to do something. You have to do something. Being established in the consciousness or expressing it towards the universe, both are one and the same. And only one more thing, when a person is merged, when a person is established, automatically he will radiate. Automatically he will radiate. Please be very clear. If the love is not happening, if the expression is not happening, be very clear, the person has not experienced. When a real experience happens, it automatically expresses. Experience is not something you can possess and keep it in your cupboard. No. Experience will possess you and it will sing through you. Somebody asked a Zen master, will enlightened man speak? Master says no. Enlightened man will never speak. Only a person who don't know will speak. Then he asks, then enlightened master will keep quiet? Master says no. An enlightened man can never keep quiet. If he keeps quiet, be very clear, he don't know. He is not enlightened. Disciple was puzzled. Was taken aback. You say neither he will speak nor he will keep quiet. What he will do? Master replies, he will sing. His very being will sing. He will neither speak nor keep quiet. His very being will sing. Because you can't possess experience. Experience will possess you. When experience possesses you, whatever you do will be a song. Any word which comes out of you will be a song. Your very walking will be a dance. Your very body language will radiate a grace. All your expressions will be a service. Great service to the humanity. He says beautifully, enlightened man never keeps quiet or he never talks. He just sings. That is why Gita is given in the form of song. Gita is not prose, it is song. The great truths can never be expressed in logic. It can be expressed only through poems. He says, Krishna says, who is established in the consciousness is great. But the person who expresses, who shares, who automatically radiates will be much greater than who is established. But the truth is, if a man is established, he will radiate. He will radiate. Let me tell you a small story from a great devotee, Bhakta, who lived in Varanasi. He's a great Bhakta of Krishna. He had a small Bhagavad Gita book. Every day morning, he will take bath in Ganga, recite the Krishna's message, Bhagavad Gita, with all his devotion. Whole day he will be sitting and meditating on Krishna. He is continuously in the ecstasy of Krishna. He is just radiating Krishna Bhakti. Of course, you can see this type of souls only in India. People who can just sit and be in ecstasy. Society will never disturb them. Society takes care of them. In any other country, you will be called as homeless, put in the shelter, disrespected. That culture is so beautiful. And even if you sit, if you are in ecstasy, you are respected, you are worshipped. And this person, he is in ecstasy, always singing Krishna's name in the Krishna Dhyana, the Leela Dhyana, in the Krishna Smarana. He is lost. One day, a beggar comes to him and asks, "Oh Swami, please give me something. For last 3 days I have not taken food." Now big difficulty. Because he himself is a beggar. And he has got only one property with him, that Krishna, the Gita book, that's all. Nothing else is his property. He has nothing. And he is always in ecstasy. Somebody gives, he eats. Otherwise he is singing the Krishna's name. His only property is that book, that Gita book. And this guy comes and asks, "I have not taken food for last 3 days. Please give me something." He feels very bad. And he looks this side and that side. Nothing is there. Only one thing is there, that is Bhagavad Gita, which is preserved or worshipped for last so many years. That's the only property that is almost like a god for him. That's everything for him. Nothing else is his property. Suddenly, he gathers courage and takes that book. Tells that beggar, "You see, I have nothing. To tell you honestly, I have only this book. But I can tell you one thing. If you go inside the city and tell this book is my property and auction it, surely people will buy. There are so many people who respect me. Some way they feel devoted to me. So Krishna's blessing is there. Just go to the market and auction this book. Say that this book is my book. Surely people will buy, giving money, and take that money and eat and fulfill yourself. Be happy." And gives that book. Beggar just takes the book and goes away. Next day morning, when he is supposed to chant the Gita, he says, "Oh Krishna, I have given away your words to keep your words. I have given away your words to keep your words." What's your word? Your word is radiate bhakti, radiate devotion, radiate service. I just gave away your word to keep your word. Keeping his word is much more important than keeping his book. Actually, if you really keep the book, if you honestly keep the book and use it and have experience, you will radiate his words. You will radiate his words. Only when we miss keeping the book, we will miss keeping his words also. Bhagavan starts, "Etvam aksharam anirudesham avyaktam paryupasade sarvatra kamachintya kodastam achalam dhruvam sanniyamyendriya gramam sarvatra samabuddhayah te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhuta hideradah. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, the non-moving and permanent, achala, dhruva, by restraining the multitude of senses, worship me, they all, working for the benefit of the mankind, attain me. See here, Krishna is not making two groups. Arjuna is making two groups who are established and who are radiating. Here Krishna says both are one and the same. He is not making two groups who are established and who are radiating. He says a person who is established will always radiate. The person who radiates will always be established. As I was telling you, it is a virtuous circle. It is a virtuous circle. Radha, she starts saying, Gopikas, I don't know what happened. I am seeing Krishna in everybody. I feel everybody is Krishna. I don't know what is happening to me. Then one Gopika says, you have the bhakti as Anjana in your eyes. It's like if you wear the black cooling glass, you will see the whole thing as dark. If you wear green cooling glass, you will see the whole thing with a green shade. Same way, when you have the bhakti Anjana in your eyes, if you have the bhakti in your eyes, whomsoever you see as a Krishna, you see as divine. Here, Krishna says, the person who is established in that super consciousness and the person who radiates devotion, both are one and the same. There is no two different group. Mayyeva mana adastva mayi buddhim niveshaya nivasishyasi mayyeva adabhurtvam na samsayah. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Divine, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without a doubt. Na samsayaha. Now he comes to the technique. At some one point the virtuous circle has to be started. The beginning has to happen at some point. First he explains about the virtuous circle. Then now he comes to the technique. Please understand, love is not a mood. It is your very existence. As long as it is your mood, it will come and go. There are two kinds of love, horizontal love and vertical love. Let me explain the horizontal love and vertical love. Horizontal love is just like a horizontal line, flat. It is related to time. It will start and end. Please be very clear. Anything which starts has to end. If it takes little more time to end, don't think it is permanent. Don't think it is permanent. Anything which starts has to end. It may take few years or few months, that's all. But it ends. This is horizontal love. Horizontal love is related to time. Vertical love is related to consciousness. It neither starts nor ends. It doesn't discriminate. It is your very quality. If you discriminate and love, please be very clear, it cannot be called as love, it is just infatuation. As long as the other person fits in your frame, all your love will go. The moment the other person doesn't fit in your frame, your love will disappear. In our meditation camp, the first session, the first practice which I make people do is, tell me honestly, or make a list, honestly, how many of you really love at least one or two persons in your life? And usually in the beginning people will come up with a big list. Husband, wife, father, mother, brother, sister, one by one, one by one, one by one. When I start talking, people will cross. No, then it is not love. No, then it is not love. But people always come and get stuck when it comes to the son or daughter. When I say all your love is for some reason, three reasons: either economical benefit or psychological support, that you have somebody as your family or as your community, as your group. At the time of risk, they may support you. When it is needed, they may be behind you. Psychological support. Third thing, good certificate. Sometimes we do share love, we do show love, we may not have any economical benefit or the psychological support, but expecting a good certificate. Good certificate. Attention. Some need will be there. People ask, tell me, Swamiji, no, I don't love my son or daughter with any of these three things. I ask them, all right, if suddenly your son starts doing things on his own, he starts deciding on his own, if it doesn't fit with your frame, if it doesn't follow your words, if it doesn't live according to you, will that love be saved? Inquire honestly. Naturally people start saying, no, it will not be. It will come down. Means what? We love our next generation as long as they are extension of our life. We fulfill our desires through them. We fulfill our life through them. Whatever we can't, we try to fulfill through them. As long as they act, they live as an extension of your life. Relationship is really beautiful. But the moment they start deciding on their own, the moment they feel that you are suffocating them, and they stand up and say no, whole thing takes a different turn. But for kids, they feel they are man or women only when they say no to parents. It's a basic instinct. Only when you say no, you feel you are individual. They don't bother what you say. All they know is flat one word, no. Flat one word, no. They do not know anything else. They feel strong when they say no. That is why all over the world, the youngsters, they always rebel. Whether it is developed countries or Eastern countries, all over the world, in all culture, youth, the youngsters always say no. Because when they say no, they feel that they are very strong. No gives certain kind of strength. But your love is dependent only on yes. As long as you receive yes, your love also yes. When When you get a no, you start saying the same no. It is horizontal love. That's the reason. It ends with some reason. Vertical love never ends because it never starts. Suddenly at some point, you realize, just like this body, how you live inside this body, same way you are living inside every body. Inside every body. There is a beautiful example given in Upanishad. A master asks a disciple, do you enjoy all your five senses? Disciple says, yes. Suppose if one sense is missing, will you have the same amount of joy? He says, no, 20% less. If two senses are missing, 40% less. If suddenly you have five more senses, he says, naturally 100% extra. He says, if you are given one more body, naturally I will enjoy twice. Or if you are given five bodies, naturally I will enjoy 5 times more. If you experience, you are living in all the bodies, what will be the joy or ecstasy? Immeasurable, eternal and ultimate. That is the same thing which enlightened people experience. They experience the same thing. When they experience they are filled in the whole universe, or they are in every body, they experience the tremendous ecstasy, the tremendous pleasure or bliss. That is why they don't need anything from the outer world. They don't need anything from outer world. One elderly person, he came to our program. After that, he came near me and asked me, with a lot of sympathy he expressed, in such a young age you have become a Swami. With a lot of sympathy that I miss life. With a lot of compassion, he was expressing his compassion with a feeling that I missed. I told him, don't be sympathetic towards me. Actually, I should be sympathetic towards you. Even after 60 years, you are not able to liberate yourself. Even after 60 years, you are suffering in the samsara. Don't be sympathetic towards me. I should be sympathetic towards you. When you experience that ecstasy and bliss inside you, you don't feel you are missing anything from the outside. You don't feel you need something. Real renunciation is not you renouncing the world renouncing you. When you have that joy and ecstasy, bliss in you, automatically you will radiate that within you and you will never feel you are missing something. You have lost something. I always tell people, never renounce unless you have that ecstasy inside. Never renounce. Work only for that ecstasy. When that happens, automatically the renunciation will happen to you. You don't have to renounce. Automatically it will happen. Be very clear. If you renounce the outer world without having the inner world, you will fall in depression. I have seen so many sannyasis who take this life, who have not achieved the inner experience, who are caught in the social service, fall in depression. Around the age of 40 to 45, simply they fall in depression. They give counseling for the whole world, but they will be in depression. So many monks, they fall in depression. Never renounce unless you have a solid experience inside. When you have the experience, you don't have to renounce. Automatically renunciation will happen. All these things will drop you. Instead of you dropping, they will drop you. You dropping will always have a problem. They dropping you is the right thing. when you have that joy in you, when you start experiencing the joy in you, nothing needs to be announced. Automatically things will happen. Here Krishna gives technique to start the virtuous circle. Let you fix your mind on me. Let you establish your intelligence in me. In this way, after acquiring that boundaryless consciousness, you will live in me always. How to establish our intelligence on Him? Continuously try to put all these ideas and thoughts inside you. Ramakrishna says, what you eat, same way only you will belch. Same smell only will come out when you belch. If you eat some kind of vegetable or fruit, when you belch, only that smell will come. Same way, if you add these ideas continuously into your mind, into your consciousness, naturally it will start radiating. It will start shining through your being. Let your intelligence be established in His being. Means, when you are in some trouble, automatically the solution should come from you based on these ideas. As on now, we run and refer the book. It means you are having Guru only in the outer world. If you again and again digest all these ideas, even when you don't have trouble, try to put these ideas inside you. Only then they will go and sit. When you have trouble, they will start guiding you. When you have trouble, if you read, you will not be able to digest them, because already your mind is in confusion. How can you receive them? How can you digest them? It can never happen. When your mind is in normal state, let receiving these ideas inside your mind become a regular habit. Let it become a just normal lifestyle. How you eat every day, how you take bath every day. Same way, let you eat these ideas in you beautifully. Shankara writes commentary on this Sutra, Agara Suddhi. Agara Suddhayo Smriti Suddhi. When your ahara is purified, your memory is purified. Please be very clear, ahara does not mean just the food which you take. It means whatever you take through all these five senses. The TV programs which you are watching is ahara. Music which you are listening is ahara. Food which you are eating is ahara. Smell which you are smelling is ahara. The touch which you are enjoying is ahara. Means all these five should be pure. Only then you can radiate the purity. You can radiate bliss. You can radiate ecstasy. You can radiate divine intelligence. Understand, unless you purify agaras which goes through other senses also, you cannot expect the purification of your memory, especially these TV shows. I really feel blessed. I am born and brought up in a village where there was no TV in those days. People ask me, Swamiji, how do you pick up things easily? Of course, somehow I pick up things very easily, very quickly. One small fact, it's a truth. Just 2 years ago I started speaking English. All I studied is only in my mother tongue. I studied a little bit, that also in mother tongue. I started speaking English when I started coming to America. Means 2 years ago. 2003 August. They asked me, how do you pick up? And I continue continuously read. How do you read so many pages, so many books? It is just because I never used to watch TV. TV straight away destroys your consciousness. Please understand. Not only your eyes, straight away it destroys your consciousness. Let me tell you an important thing. Understand this example. You are traveling in a vehicle. If you are going 40 miles per hour, you can see whatever is there in the road, hoarding or a signboard, whatever is there in the road you can see very clearly. If you are going 100 miles per hour, can you see? You can't. You can't see them clearly. The reason is more number of frames per second is coming in front of your eyes. More number of frames per second is coming in front of your eyes. That is why you can't see. You can't understand what it is. Normally, your eyes can receive, analyze, process and file as long as the informations are given to you 6 frames per second. 6 frames per second if it changes in front of your eyes can take that message, analyze it, categorize it and put it in your consciousness, put it in your memory. But if it is more than 6 frames per second, your logic will lose its balance. TV is at least 16 frames per second. Straight away the information is forced on you. Please be very clear. It's like you have a security watchman outside your house. Thief comes and pushes the watchman aside, kills him. Straight away walks into your bedroom. Same thing is happening when you watch movie, when you watch TV and movies. Logic is your watchman. He is standing. Logic stands, whatever information comes to you, it analyzes and it says this is truth, this is lie, this is a toy, this is a real man, this is a just fake, this is doll. The informations are analyzed and recorded. When you watch movie, when 16 frames per second is flowing, when the information is forced on you, infused on you, your logic loses its ability to analyze and straight away the information reaches your unconsciousness. Straight away your unconscious is exploited. Straight away the information penetrates you. It's like a robber straight away walking into your bedroom, killing the watchman. One more thing. Because the information reaches you straight away, you lose the logical analyzing capacity and emotional balance. That is why you know for sure that actor is still alive. You know for sure that actress is also alive. But when you see in the movie that he is murdered or killed, automatically you start weeping. Tears are rolling. You know for sure that is not happening there. That is not true. But when they laugh, you laugh. When they cry, you cry. According to that scenes, your mood also changes. If you see a depressing scene, you fall in depression. Why? You are an educated person. You know it's a drama. You know the person is alive. You must have seen the actor just few days ago in person. But when you see that movie, you experience it. Why? Because the logic which analyzes between the truth and the lie is put to rest or pushed aside, and information is straight away flooded into your system. Straight away it goes into your unconsciousness. So be very clear. Never watch any program which creates depression and or misery in you. Depression or misery in you. Of course, if you watch some program which gives joy, which makes you laugh, that doesn't hurt your consciousness directly. You may at the most waste little time or eat little bit at the time of watching movie. Only a little bit of obesity problem is there. Otherwise, no other problem. The survey says more than 80% of the people eat when they watch TV and face the weight problem. You may have only a little weight problem, nothing much, but never watch anything which creates depression or low mood in you, especially horror movies. Please be very clear. Let me answer one important question. Is there anything called devil or spirit, Swamiji? This is a usual question I face. Let me tell you very clearly, there is no such thing as devil. No such thing as demon. No such thing as spirit. Be very clear. You may have 1000 references. Now I know your minds are just collecting all the references. What all the movies you saw, what all the shows you saw, what all the books you read. Your mind is collecting all the references. Please be very clear. Once your unconscious starts believing there is a spirit, you project it and see. Whatever your unconscious believes, you project that and see. Now, especially after a lot of research is done on the hypnotism, they are coming up with great truths. If a person is hypnotized and if fire is put in his hand and the hypnotist gives an instruction, you are holding a flower in your hand. You are having rose flower in your hand. Not only the hand never gets burned, after the fire is removed, the hand smells like a rose. Hands smell like a rose. Hypnotism has got so much of power. Means the unconsciousness has got so much of power. You are unconsciously hypnotized and taught something like ghost exists. And you project and see. When you see some experience, then it becomes a solid faith. Vicious circle. You are caught in the vicious circle. One more thing. Just watch some horror movie continuously for 3 days. You will see ghost. Even your screen moving will look like a ghost. Even if your wife walks inside your room. Now for that you don't have to see horror movie. Anyhow, you will always feel disturbed and you will always be in the consciousness. And whatever happens around you, you will connect with it. And exactly after seeing horror movie only, you will feel like having little water. You will walk up to kitchen. Suddenly there will be a cat jumping exactly on you. And now the whole scene is completed. Now you know for sure the ghost exists. Be very clear. It is purely your unconsciousness. Because you start believing it. You start projecting it. Once you start projecting it, your faith is strengthened. It's a vicious circle in which you are caught. One more thing. Ghosts as such don't have physical body. See, you are having 3-level bodies. Physical, subtle and causal. Even if they exist, they don't have physical body. Of course, first of all, they don't exist. But for argument's sake, if I collect all your arguments and if I have to argue, if we accept they do exist, they exist only in the subtle body or causal body. They don't have physical body. No ghost comes to you with physical body except your spouse. No ghost comes to you with a physical body. It means they have only 66% of capacity which you are having. You are having 3 body, 100%. They have only maximum 2 body, only 66%. It means they are less powerful than you. They are less powerful than you. Even if they exist, you don't have to be afraid of them. Understand logically, even if they exist, you don't have to be afraid of them. They are lower level jivas. They are lower level entities. First thing, they don't exist. Even for argument's sake, if you have to argue, they are lower level entities. You don't have to be afraid of them. So be very clear. All this talking to the ghosts, media, or medium, talking to your some relatives who are dead, all these things are pure stories. One story is built on the other story. Next story is built on the third story. Pure story. Nothing but pure story. A small story. One lady goes to a medium to talk to her husband who recently passed away. Slowly that man starts mumbling few words, then starts talking. Oh honey, I am here, ask whatever you want. Then she asks, please tell me who all have to give money for us. Where all you put your money? Please tell me. He tells, the milkman has to give 35,000 to us, and I have deposited 2 lakh money in this bank. Please take it. And opposite house person, he has to give 1.5 lakh to us. All this account goes on. Suddenly, the husband says, honey, I want to tell you one more thing. I have to give 10 lakh to such and such a friend. Please return that. Suddenly she says, it doesn't look like my husband's voice. It doesn't look like my husband's voice. Is there anybody else? Be very clear. Only as long as it supports you, all these ideas are okay. So don't believe all this media, or medium and all these things, and don't waste your time in all this talking with the people who are dead. We have no time to talk to the people who are alive. Why to waste the time in talking with the people who are dead? And people who are directly related to our business, our life. Let us talk to them first. Let us work with them first. Why to waste our time with them? Never allow any of these horrible things or things which create suffering into your consciousness. If you don't allow all these things into your consciousness, automatically your intelligence will be established in divine. Thoughts which you take inside is going to play a major role on this one concept of what Krishna says, establishing your intelligence on me. Please understand, whatever you intake, your ahara, you will establish your mind only on that. So let your ahara be purified. Let ahara suddhi happen to you. Automatically, your consciousness will be established in divine. Again and again and again, try to put these ideas inside you. These ideas, let them penetrate you instead of the ideas which depresses you, which makes you feel low energy and which depresses you, which puts you into depression. For example, for last 11 days you are all listening these ideas. By now you know when some problem comes, automatically you will remember, Swamiji said this. I heard this idea. I think this is what I have to understand now. Automatically this will start coming up from your being. If it starts coming up, you have heard. Otherwise, you are a silent listener. Silent listener is a person who is sitting and seriously thinking of something else. Who is sitting and seriously thinking of something else. If you are a silent listener or if you are really heard, can be decided by how much these words repeat in you. I always tell people, when words come from enlightened consciousness, it simply penetrates you and automatically it comes in your mind whenever you need the help. People ask me, Swamiji, how to remember all these ideas and practice? I tell them, never bother about remembering. Just hear, that's enough. Just listen, that's enough. These words are from my experience. So naturally they will penetrate your being. Whenever it is necessary, you don't have to remember these words. These words will remember you. You don't have to remember them. The words will remember you. Automatically they will come up. Automatically they will erupt in your consciousness like a pop-up. How the pop-ups, they come in the computer. Same way, automatically they will come up in your consciousness and they will guide you. You don't need to do anything. All you need to do is just listen. Means put them into your being. Again and again and again. Try to listen these words. Naturally, your consciousness will be established in divine. Adaschittam samadadum nasaknoshi mayistiram abhyasa yogena tado mamichaptum dhananjaya. Here he says about abhyasa yoga. Why he speaks about abhyasa yoga? Because yesterday in Visurupa Darshana Yoga, Krishna gave one glimpse of universal consciousness experience to Arjuna. But Arjuna is not able to stay there permanently. Out of fear or out of the old engrams, samskaras, he came out. He slipped from the consciousness. Now he speaks about Abhyasa Yoga. How to establish yourself in that same consciousness. That's why he speaks about Abhyasa. O Arjuna, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of bhakti. In this way, you will, through this Abhyasa, you will be established in me. Here he gives a solid path or a solid solution to solve your whole life, to establish yourself in that consciousness. Continuously, again and again, with a regular life, receiving these ideas and digesting these ideas in your consciousness. Let your inner space be filled with these ideas. Let you not waste even few moments. Let your whole inner space be filled with these great thoughts. That is the way to establish yourself in that consciousness. Krishna gives some more tips for establishing yourself in that consciousness and radiating bhakti.